This wasn't something I ever thought I'd be reviewing. Dungeon crawlers and I have never really clicked. I've tried tons of them. Etrian Odyssey, Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, even Persona Q. They all felt too slow, too grindy, and I never really cared for the gameplay loop. So when Idea Factory reached out asking me if I wanted to check out their newest game, Mado Monogatari, Fia and the Wondrous Academy, I'll be honest, I was kind of skeptical, but I figured, hey, nothing to lose. Either I reaffirm that I don't really care for dungeon crawlers, or I'll enjoy it. So I gave it a shot, and for the first time in my life, I found myself genuinely enjoying a dungeon crawler. So what was different about this one? Why did this click where so many others didn't? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. Let's get into it. Dungeon crawlers have always pushed me away. The grid-based combat, the endless menus, the slow pacing, and the dungeons that just feel like the same hallway copy-pasted over and over. I just never found them enjoyable. Then along comes Mado Monogatari, Fia and the Wondrous Academy, to be released on July 29th, 2025 for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch, retailing at $70 Canadian. Now, chances are you haven't heard of the series, or maybe you have. Have you heard of the puzzle game Puyo Pop? Yeah, that colorful little puzzle game with the blobs you match? That series actually originated as a spin-off of the Mado Monogatari series, also known as Sorcery Saga, which itself dates all the way back to 1989 on the MSX. It's actually one of Compile Heart's oldest IPs. I'm not gonna lie, when I see Idea Factory's name, I brace myself. I loved Hyperdimension Neptunia back in the PlayStation 3 days, but it's kind of been rough since. Their games have all felt formulaic for a while. So going in, my expectations were extremely low, and that's probably why I was so shocked when I found myself not just tolerating, but genuinely enjoying this game. That gameplay loop, the characters, the vibe, it all worked for me. And let me just say, trying to pronounce Mado Monogatari every time you say it out loud, brutal. So let's start with the story. In Mado Monogatari, you play as Fia, a young and pretty clueless wannabe mage who dreams of joining the prestigious Magic Academy. With her trusty companion Carbuncle in tow, another familiar character from the Puyo Pop games, Fia somehow manages to get accepted through sheer willpower and probably a really good dose of dumb luck. Once enrolled, Fia struggles with literally everything, from making friends to understanding her professors to even basic schoolwork. But that's kind of where the charm comes in with this game. Fia is a classic slice of life anime heroine, hopelessly underqualified, but she's got that heart and she tries her best, usually failing in hilarious ways. Watching her stumble through the school experience while surrounded by the most colorful, quirky characters, that's what made me fall in love with this whole game. But let's talk about the supporting cast. So you have Will, the hero wannabe who's always shouting about justice, Lena, that calm bookworm type, Eska, who's half dragon and fully obsessed with Fia. It's hard to say whether it's romantically or possibly as lunch, and Toto, who gives off that shifty traveling merchant vibe. He's just obsessed with profit. These characters don't just serve as gameplay archetypes, they bring real personality and flavor to the story. The tone of the story is mostly lighthearted and whimsical. You get your standard coming-of-age fantasy anime, but what caught me off guard is how dark it eventually gets. I won't spoil it, but let's just say this game hides a surprisingly emotional core beneath its bubbly exterior. That said, it does take a while to get there. The first 3 chapters almost feel like you're watching an anime that's all filler. There's a decent amount of world building, you're being introduced to all the characters, but there isn't much momentum. It felt like the first third of a slow burning anime where you're just waiting for something to actually happen. But when it does happen, the story takes off like a rocket and it doesn't slow down. It gets intense, emotional, and even a little haunting at times. So my advice, power through those first 10 hours. I know 10 hours is a long time, but if you stick with it, you're in for something special. So the gameplay was the part I was the most anxious about. Dungeon crawling is what made me bounce off so many games before, so this game really needed to impress me here. So let's just start with the dungeons themselves. They're randomly generated. Layout, enemies, as well as loot. Normally, that just spells doom for me because random generation often equals bland. But here, it's surprisingly decent. Each dungeon has a unique aesthetic and enemy design, which keeps things fresh even when the layouts feel familiar. Combat is where this game completely defied my expectations. It's not grid-based. In fact, it's this weird hybrid between turn-based and action combat. It sounds odd, but it works really well. So while you're exploring these dungeons, you see enemies on the map in real time. You can run straight into them and start combat, or it's preferable that you hit them with an attack beforehand so that you can get an advantage. In battle, there's a turn gauge showing who acts when. You can attack anytime, but basic attacks are weak and they slow you down before you can actually use your magic, which is where the real meat of the battle system is. There are 5 elements: fire, water, wood, light, and dark. You've seen elemental triangles before. Water beats fire, fire beats wood, and wood beats water. And then you have the light and dark elements being weak to one another. But Mado Monogatari takes it a step further with its great magic system. Every spell leaves this elemental imprint on the ground. Leave the imprint there, and a few seconds later, it spawns an orb of that element which you can collect. These orbs are your ammo for casting powerful great magic spells. The cool part, you can combine elemental effects. For example, cast a wood spell to leave a wood imprint, then quickly cast fire on that same spot to create a blaze orb. Collect it, and boom, you can now use a more powerful spell. For example, you want to use Fire Burst, you need 2 fire elemental orbs. However, there's a more powerful version of that called Fire Blast. This requires a fire and a blaze orb, and it just gets more and more complicated from there. It's a surprisingly deep system for something that looks so simple, and it kind of made me strategically think about which spells to cast in which order. Now, you have a bunch of different characters, and they all have their specific element. Will handles fire, Lena's your water girl, Toto's on wood, don't laugh, I know what you're thinking, and Eska has light. And Fia is the wild card. Her spells depend on her job class. Yes, there is a job system. It's very light, but it's there. So you have 4 jobs. Magic Knight, which is focused on melee attacks. Wizard, which is a pure caster. Witch Thief, which is fast and support heavy. I personally picked this one because, well, it's an archer, and I love archers. And then you have Hermit Hunter, which is more balanced. None of them feel better than one another. They're all viable and more about playstyle preference. Each class also has a unique skill tree. Though the abilities are all the same, it's more the stat bonuses that change. Now, there are also side quests. You can ignore every single side quest if you want. But if you ignore the side quests, you'll miss a ton of content. Like, easily 70% of the game's side stuff is linked to those side quests. There's a whole cozy sim life side to Mado Monogatari, planting seeds to grow vegetables, fertilizing trees for fruit, crafting gear, which I still hate more than anything. And my favorite, you can go fishing. You can fish in ponds at the school as well as in dungeons. Granted, it can be a little bit annoying because there are legendary fish that you can catch, but there's no way you're going to catch them on early game. Now, all of these cozy elements and side stuff are optional, but honestly, it's kind of fun. You can enter competitions in these minigames and win some rare weapons. Plus, many of your best skills on the skill tree are locked behind these side quests. Some quests are required to unlock combat support spells or passives. So if you really want the full experience that this game has to offer, you're gonna want to do that side stuff. That being said, some of the quests, and by some I mean all of the quests, are repetitive. It's usually go here, grab this item, or defeat X amount of enemies, or travel through an old dungeon that you've already gone through 5 times just to kill a certain enemy so that you can unlock a certain skill. It's that kind of thing. It's up to you how deep you want to go, but I found myself kind of addicted to knocking out each and every quest. Also, a quick side note, past Mado Monogatari games were weirdly graphic when it came to killing enemies. Like, you would burn a werewolf alive where the fire slowly spreads, torturing them, or merciless decapitations. Unfortunately, in Fia and the Wondrous Academy, none of those are here. The game's gone full family friendly, and honestly, well, I kind of miss seeing those sort of things. It fits better with the cute art style. This game, if I had to describe it, is adorable. There's really no other way to describe it. The chibi art style is bright, expressive, and full of personality. The menus are clean and anime stylized. They pop with color, making navigating a breeze. It nails that playful, cozy vibe the game is going for. The soundtrack is that classic 80s and 90s anime-inspired sound. Cheerful, whimsical, and just nostalgic enough to hit the right notes. Each area has a distinct theme. School life feels upbeat, dungeons are ominous, and forests feel foresty. I guess mysterious would be a better word. Everything, it just fits. Sound design is on point too. Spells have unique effects, even within the same element. Weapon attacks sound impactful, and this is small but meaningful, the menu clicks are so satisfying. Ever play a game where the menus feel dated and silent? It's weirdly jarring. Thankfully, no such problem here. Now, I do have one complaint, and I know this is a me thing, but there's no English voice acting. It's fully Japanese. I get it, most JRPG and anime fans prefer subs anyways, but I like being able to understand what's being said without reading subtitles. It helps me get more immersed. Totally subjective, I know, but hey, this is my review, so we're gonna talk about what bothered me personally. So how long is this thing? Well, it depends. If you're just going for main story, you're probably looking at 20 to 25 hours. If you're playing on easy, skipping cutscenes and ignoring side quests, you could probably finish it in 10 to 15. But if you want to experience most of what the game has to offer, like I did, expect about 40 to 50 hours. I completed the majority of the content and finished at just under 45. Not bad for a dungeon crawler. The pacing is actually one of the most surprising positives. The dungeons aren't too long, and there's a good rhythm between exploration, school life, and the story beats. Only pacing issue I had was with the dialogue. Like, some cutscenes, they drag. Like, visual novel levels of drag. If you've played any other Idea Factory or Compile Heart game, you know the drill. Still, I found myself wanting to get back into the gameplay sooner than I expected, which again is wild for me, considering my history with this genre. Honestly, I went into Mado Monogatari, Fia, and the Wondrous Academy expecting a slow, tedious grind through generic dungeons. What I got instead was a fun, charming, well-designed JRPG that finally made me enjoy a genre I've avoided for years. Is it perfect? Not at all. But it's got systems that feel rewarding, it's got characters you want to hang out with, and it's wrapped in a presentation that knows exactly what it wants to be. It's not going to win any Game of the Year awards, but I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. If you're someone like me, not big on dungeon crawlers, but open to trying something fresh, give this one a shot. You might be surprised. Are you looking forward to playing Mado Monogatari? Have I convinced you to try it? Or is there another dungeon crawler that finally made you a fan? Drop your stories in the comments. I really want to know what game helped you finally fall in love with crawling through dark, dreary labyrinths. If you enjoyed this review, smash that like button, and if you love JRPGs, even the niche, weird, and magical ones, consider subscribing. I've got a whole lot of magic ready for you. And hey, if you want to see another game that I thought I'd hate but ended up loving, or 10 of them, check out this video right here. 10 JRPGs the critics hated, but I think they're wrong. This has been Shinky, thanks so much for watching, and until the next one, have a wonderful day.